And welcome to season number 4 of the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast. We are back after a summer break. Drew has reconstructed his wrist. Eric has a new camera.
Oh, wow.
We can see him.
I have not reconstructed my face, just a reconstructed camera.
We can see him very clearly. And man, there's been a lot of changes and a lot of events in Cleveland sports. And the one that probably is going to pull on our heartstrings, especially Drew's heartstrings, was that Trevor Bauer trade. So let's dig into that one first. And we'll kick it off with Drew. Drew.
Yeah, you have to do it to me, right? The only reason I'm not in a full-on black suit and tie funeral edition of the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast is because of the return that we got for Trevor Bauer. I sent out a tweet about this when it happened. I said, I am the biggest Trevor Bauer fan on the planet, bar none. I genuinely believe I like the guy more than his parents do. But when you can get Yasiel Puig and a pretty good pitcher in Scott Moss, and that's just from the Reds, and you get the Padres, one of the NL leaders in home runs in Franmil Reyes, and you get a top 100 overall prospect in pitcher Logan Allen, and you get the number 7 or 8 player in the Padres farm system, a stacked farm system. And you get another throw-in that turns into Victor Nova, who has major league potential as well. So, you end up with one of the top 100 pitching, one of the top 100 prospects in Logan Allen, a very good pitcher who has potential to be a top of the rotation type of a guy. You get an outfielder who's going to play DH for the American League, who's going to be under club control till 2024, and you get Yasiel Puig, who immediately after being traded to the Indians decided he was going to fight the entire Pittsburgh team, which, hats off to you. If you're trying to make an entrance and you want to really avail yourself to the Cleveland fans, that's the way to do it. Go fight the entire Pittsburgh team by yourself. And so, I thought it was a really good trade. They got a lot in this deal. I personally, I'm always going to be a Trevor Bauer guy no matter where he goes, maybe with the exception of the Boston Red Sox. But I can't hate on it. The Indians have proven very good at this type of thing in the past, and I think this is yet another example that this front office really knows what they're doing in terms of being able to quickly rebuild and move on from a prospect where they saw no real long-term future, and that was what Trevor Bauer was going to be. So.
Yeah, the playoffs are all about pitching. So maybe there's cause for concern. Yeah. That we're losing Trevor Bauer, and the Astros are picking up another pitcher, Greinke.
Right.
Yeah, so it's, the Astros were already really good last year. They pick up another pitcher. Eric, what do you think about our playoff chances by losing a pitcher in order to pick up a couple of bats?
Well, first I got to agree with Drew. Looking forward, the cupboard is very plentiful with this trade. So I'm happy to see what's going down the road with these guys, these young athletes. Franmil's 23. You got a couple guys coming up from the minors, so we should be stocked pretty well for the future. But as far as this year's concerned, Bauer only had a 9-8 record with a 3.85 ERA and a WHIP of 1.24. That would currently put him fourth on the current rotation, behind Shane Bieber, 11-4, 3.31 ERA, and a less than 1 WHIP. Clevenger, 6-2, Plesac, 6-3. He's a little ahead of Pleco, but you look at all these names; they're all very, very young and very green. And you'd like some veteran guys to be in the playoffs. And despite how uneven regular season Trevor Bauer's having, I know he has what it takes to dial it up for 125 pitches at a time that he's accustomed to. So, we still have Kluber, Savall, and Carrasco as wild cards, but there cannot be any more injuries. We're on thin ice as it is a starting pitcher. So that's the biggest area of concern for me. I really don't have a tremendous amount of faith in Pleco. And like I said, Plesac and Bieber are essentially rookies. So You like to think they're going to keep it up like Jarrett Wright maybe did in 1997, but it's a tall ask. So like right now, Clevenger's the only guy I really feel confident in the playoffs. Should we make it and have a long series? That being said, the lineup is improved. I mean, like we had discussed in season 3 of this podcast, of how scary the outfield was. Adding
Scary in a
Yasiel,
bad way.
scary in a bad
Yeah.
way. Yes, I didn't specify, but Yasiel Puig, adding him to the outfield, he doesn't give you a ton on defense, but he looks so effortlessly swinging the bat on offense and getting a double with ease. And you can put him in and take out what's his name?
Greg Allen or
Greg Allen, any of those guys. Jordan Luplow, unfortunately, is on injured reserve now. But, you need bats. Obviously, you're going to need pitching in the playoffs, but if you can't score, as we've seen multiple times this season, then you're not going to win games. So, I'm willing to give it a shot. I didn't have a tremendous amount of confidence that the Indians can go the whole way this year, especially with what you said about Houston. I think maybe they could somehow make a series with the Yankees, but if they match up with Houston or heck, even the team within their division, the Twins, it could be very tough for them.
It's going to be quite the chase. It's hopefully the Indians they're hot right now.
Hottest team in baseball right now, man. They're 37-16 since June 4th. That's the best record in the league. I'm glad we didn't bet the $1 million Eric owes us for the first round of it. And again, I would have lost.
And things are looking up in comparison to last season. We had some things that were heading downhill. We had some injuries that we were hoping guys were going to be back by the playoffs. Now we're hoping that guys are returning at this point, warming up for the playoffs. Man, I like the idea. Clevenger, Bieber, and then you just give us one, Kluber or Carrasco, and we've got a heck of a playoff rotation there. So it's looking pretty good for the Indians in this playoff, but we've got to get past the Twins to even make it in there. So, all right, let's jump into.
Before you do, Trevor Bauer, you have a big social media presence. I know you're probably going to be listening to this podcast. We wanted to make sure you had a standing invitation to join us here on the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast. Whenever you like, whenever it suits your schedule, obviously, come on down and celebrate your time with us here on the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast.
All right, let's move on to the Cleveland Browns, and things are heating up, leading into our first preseason game. Training camp, everyone's had their eye on OBJ, making some awesome catches in training camp. Drew, let's start off with you again here. What's caught your eye in Browns training camp so far?
Yeah, I mean the easy answer is Odell Beckham Jr. and I'm sure Eric will get into that a little bit. But the guy that's really surprised me, and I looked for things I wasn't expecting in training camp. I expected Odell Beckham Jr. to be incredible because he's one of the best players in the NFL, and I expected Baker Mayfield to look very good because he's a very good quarterback. But I did not expect a fifth-round rookie to intercept a pass seemingly every single day. And I mean that. Every single practice with pads on, Mack Wilson has intercepted Drew Stanton. I don't know if Drew Stanton is like a charity case now, right? Like he's already made his money. He's just letting these guys feel good or not. But Mack Wilson intercepts him every day. And so, that kind of hustle and that kind of instinctual sort of play is not something you expect from a rookie. You don't, right? You don't expect them to be in the right spot. And, I don't know if that is indicative of the type of player we can expect. I don't think we can expect him to intercept a pass every single game. But I'm very excited. I'm very intrigued about Mack Wilson. I think he can be a really good player. For Schobert and Kirksey, last year when those guys got hurt, those linebackers were terrible. Those replacement linebackers, the backups that we had last year, they left a lot to be desired. And as soon as Schobert went down and Kirksey went down for the whole year, that defense went from generating 6 turnovers against Pittsburgh. They led the league in turnovers in part because of the play of those linebackers. They got exposed without them. So I'm very excited that Taki Taki's also had a good training camp. He was in on something like 4 straight tackles. So I'm very encouraged by the rookie linebackers, and specifically Mac Wilson. I think John Dorsey may have found something there. Obviously, way too early to tell, but he's who stood out to me so far in camp.
Dang, Drew, I thought you were going to go with a hustle, loyalty, respect reference
there.
But
man, I missed it.
You missed it. I heard that hustle. So, Eric, what has caught your eye this training camp?
Well, first, you leave Tanner Vallejo out of this, Drew Swan. He's a fine gentleman. It's all about the offense in the NFL nowadays. You do need a good defense. Just look at last year's Super Bowl. But what I've seen so far in this offense for guys I'm not expecting is encouraging me. Not Jarvis Landry aside, Nick Chubb aside, Odell Beckham Jr. aside. Let's take a look at who stepped up. Antonio Callaway aside, also not been doing too great, but Hollywood Higgins, he might be the third receiver now for this offense. Was it 2 years ago he got cut and we brought him back?
Hollywood.
And and now he's the third wideout. We'll see what happens with this season, but if he continues with this, he was one of the Baker's guys last year. The other guy who's really stepped up is Derek Willis. Hasn't made a tremendous amount of plays. Everybody remembers that catch against the Ravens, but if he can, he's 6'4". He's the tallest receiver of this bunch. If he's, brings something different to the table and can cause matchup problems with opposing defenders, then that's going to make things easier for Baker in this offense. And then the third guy, I guess I would say, would be in the tight end position, largely due to injuries to Demetrius Harris, is Pharaoh Brown. You might remember him from the fight that happened with the defensive lineman who ended up flipping off the Browns fans. So
Chad Thomas.
Thomas. So Pharaoh Brown, maybe he can ruffle some feathers and catch some passes too. And he's another big guy who should be able to help block. I think they're probably going to keep 3 tight ends. So it's probably him and the Val fighting for that third tight end spot behind Demetrius and Njoku. So, I'm really excited. Some years this isn't a Josh Lenz situation or a
Frisman Jackson.
Richard Mullaney.
Richard Mullaney. Well done.
So we actually have guys, I think, that can make plays on offense. At least Willis has shown he has made a play in the NFL and not in training camp or preseason. So this roster has just improved so tremendously in the last year and a half under John Dorsey. So, I really love hearing these stories, and I don't think they're the usual fluff pieces we're accustomed to in the last 10, 20 years.
I really thought I had something with Frisman Jackson, and you had to go Richard Mullaney on top of it.
Frisman, he did make some plays in the regular season.
6'4", you can't teach that.
You can't.
Those are 4 of them. That's awesome.
All right, we're
on a roll today, man.
Taking up the slack here. All right, so we're gonna go around all the teams here. Let's talk some Cavs. And what Cavs can you talk about? It's been very quiet. We had the draft. It's been very quiet. But the thing that caught my eye, it's sort of a negative. NBA 2K20 just released a pretty awesome video that is a summary of all of the trades that have gone down this summer, all the new duos that exist across the NBA, Harden and Westbrook, LeBron and Davis. We have Kawhi and Paul George. All of the new tandems and new teams that have been built up. And they even showed a Pistons highlight and a Pacers highlight in that NBA 2K20 preview. But the team that we did not see, we didn't see Kevin Love draining a 3 from the outside or Colin Sexton taking the ball up court. No Cavaliers. Are we just going to be one of the most boring teams in the NBA this year? Eric, let's kick it off with you this time. Man, Are the Cavs going to play on national television?
Not too many. Yeah, the NBA, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's a star-driven league, and right now they don't have that superstar on their team. Do they have a good team? No. Do they have a fine team that can win some games here and there? Yes. I mean, the big three of Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, and Dylan Drew Swallow needs to buy my jersey.
Oh, we didn't bring that up.
That's all I was going to talk about was that.
Anyways, those three, maybe they'll be the big three, but they got some room to grow. What really irritated me with that ad is that the Chicago Bulls had their logo showed on there. I cannot name one player for that team. They haven't been good since Jordan left in 1998. How are they getting recognized over us? But I'm over it. I'm
not.
So, I've been thinking about this. The NBA, there's basically a hierarchy of 5 levels of teams and where they're going to fall. There's the title contenders. There's the teams that can challenge for the challenge for the deep run, maybe the finals. Somebody might teetering on the playoffs. Somebody who's bad and, not going to make the playoffs, but not awful. And then you had your god-awful top 5 worst teams in the league. And I think last year the Cavs were in that last category, and I think we're going to move up to that next to last category. We're in the low 20s right now. Not great, but we'll keep building, and maybe that's why NBA 2K20 doesn't want to talk about us or show us.
Okay.
Or them.
We're moving on up here. Drew.
Yes.
Okay. Hit us with it.
Yeah, NBA 2K, you just made the list. You had all these duos on there. Like you went through, Ryan went through. I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw the Legion of Doom on there. They threw a New Age Outlaws on there. Like they were all on there. All these guys, and some of them don't even exist anymore. And these guys are on this video. And the thing that really hurt is it's such a missed opportunity. I mean, they could have spent, instead of that 2-minute long hype video of all these trades and everything that went down, they could have spent all 2 minutes and 30 seconds showing nothing but Dylan Windler highlights, and everyone would have been happy. It would have been a great video. I mean, they would have just sold right off the shelves if all you did was talk about the great Dylan Windler, first ballot Hall of Famer and friend of the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast. Quickly has replaced Trevor Bauer, if you can't tell, for
bring him on.
My guy, and you're welcome on the podcast as well, Dylan Windler. I don't know of your social media presence. I don't know if it's as expansive as my guy Trevor Bauer's, but also welcome on the podcast, Dylan Windler. And yeah, NBA 2K, you really missed a chance at nothing but Dylan Windler highlights, and I think he's really going to make you regret that this year.
So when do we see the jersey?
We will see the jersey for the first Cavs game. I will. I'm holding it out until then, mostly because I don't think they sell them yet.
No, they do. They do. I sent you the link, Drew.
Okay. What I saw was a bunch of podcast equipment, which I obviously need now. Now that Sonia's a professional over here,
exactly.
I got to step my game up. So embedded in there must have been the link to the Dylan Windler jersey. I will have that come the first Cavaliers game of the season. You will see me wearing the Dylan Windler jersey. That I promise.
Okay, long-term storyline, brother.
Yep.
All right. Speaking of good brothers, let's hit it off with the final promo. The good brother that was up in a suite for the Indians game, Baker Mayfield. Everyone's already seen it. Sipping a beer and then having a beer tossed to him, Stone Cold style, biting into that beer, chugging the beer, pointing to his Lindor jersey. And you think of those comparisons that we talked about around Super Bowl time when he had the commercial with Tom Brady, and how Tom Brady has actually been a popular figure for chugging beers. And made me think about a question for our final promo here. What do you think is a more probable advantage for Baker Mayfield? Do you think he can out-chug Tom Brady, or do you think he's going to throw more touchdown passes in this upcoming season? Drew, let's kick it off with you.
I get to go first. Oh, man.
Drew, you first.
Without question, there's not a doubt in my mind. I will mortgage my house that Baker Mayfield can chug a beer faster than Tom Brady. There is zero doubt in my mind whatsoever that is true. It is a certainty. The sun rises in the east. Baker Mayfield can beat Tom Brady in a beer chugging contest. There's no doubt in my mind about that. There's none whatsoever. There's some doubt that Baker might get hurt and not throw as many touchdown passes as check down Tommy, but there is no doubt in my mind whatsoever that he can beat him in a beer chugging competition. None whatsoever.
I don't know. Brady was it on Letterman that he showed off his beer chugging skills? That's when it originally showed up. I think it was on Letterman. He didn't leave too much room for improvement on that. Eric, are you in agreement here with Drew as far as college stud drinker?
I'm going to go the other way. I think Baker's I think Baker's one and done, at least with his public chugging. I remember a kid, one of my first movies I ever saw was Teen Wolf, and seeing the wolf bite down on the beer can, it just brought back a lot of great memories. So that was very funny to see, but I think, maybe his PR guys will say, that was pretty cool, but let's start focusing on football, still be a man of the people. That being said, let's take a look at Tom Brady's last 5 years of touchdown passes: 33, 36, 28, 32, and 29. He lost Gronkowski. He's also 42. Maybe somebody slips in a couple strawberries in his, smoothie, and he gets all out of control.
Some nightshades.
And I can see a big dip of 26, which is still incredible, but he is 42 years old. Looking at Baker's stats last year, he had 27. I think he should, worst case scenario, get 29 or 30 with an improved wide receiver core from last year. I think there's going to be a lot more touchdowns, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were not. It felt like at the end of the year they were kind of forcing some in there when they could have ran it in easily from the 1 yard line, and I'm okay with that as long as they score. So, I could still, like I said, still see a minor improvement. I think it'd be close, but I'm going to give the nod to Baker over TB12 in the touchdown category in 2019.
All right, so maybe the best bet is Baker's going to win both. Throw more touchdown passes, celebrate with drinking a beer faster than Brady.
Right.
And on to a Super Bowl victory. So, well, thank you guys. This was episode 1 of season 4. We're going to keep coming every week. We're going to be talking Browns. We're going to be talking Indians. And if the Cavs are still on television, we'll talk some Cavs too. So thank you guys. And we'll pick it up again next week.
Thank you. That was 10 professional wrestling references and 1 Teen Wolf reference for those of you playing along at home. Welcome back.
All right, we're out.
All right.